Hi everybody. So I'm talking about being 18, pregnant, twins. So to get started, I'm just going to talk about how I found out, when I found out, and just from there on. I just turned 18. I was a senior in high school, like halfway through the year. It's March at this point, and I was obviously getting late, close to the time. It was like the end of the month already, like almost. So I just had been feeling weird. Like I would come home and I would immediately go to sleep. And if you know me, like that's normal for me. Like I always slept since I was like young. I would come home, go straight to sleep. But I kind of stopped that, but now again I was starting to sleep again once I came home from school. Like I was always tired, but I didn't think anything of it because like I said, I always used to be sleepy. And so I didn't think anything of it until throughout the month. It just kept getting later and later and nothing was coming. And at first what had happened was I was spotting and I was like, okay, it's gonna come sooner or later, like it's gonna come. But then it would go away and then it would come back again and then it'd go away. And so I was like, this is weird. So I was like, I kept trying to think of the last time I got my period, and I knew it was in February. So I was like trying to think, like I can't be like, something's going on. I told my friends, they bought me a test, and I went home, took it after school. And what happened was I was too scared to look at it myself, so I FaceTimed my sister and I don't know, and I closed my eyes and I was like showing her on FaceTime, and I flipped the camera so she could see and tell me first because I was just scared and I didn't want to look at it first, so I had her do it. And she was like, oh my gosh, and I was like, you're lying, like don't play with me. And then as soon as she said like it's for real, I went crazy and I started crying. Obviously I'm 18, high school, like I just turned 18, like what am I supposed to do? So I started crying and I was freaking out. And so then that same day I immediately called my husband, which he wasn't my husband at the time, but he was my boyfriend. So I immediately called him right after, and I think he was at work, and I was like, and he knew this was going on, so he knew I was like taking a test and everything. So I was like it's positive, I'm pregnant. And then he didn't believe me, so he was like, are you sure? Like what kind of test was it? And he didn't trust it because it was one of the like Food City dollar ones. So he was like, no, we're gonna buy you another one, we're gonna take another one. So that's what I did, and once again it came back positive. And so the next day, well, I think that same day I texted my friends that had bought me. I was like coast is clear, we're good, when we actually weren't good. But I just didn't know how to tell anyone. Like I didn't want to tell anyone because the thing is, there was so many like pregnancies already, going on, and I knew how people talked about it, and I knew how people felt about it, and just like how everyone was towards it. So I was like, I do not want this getting out. Like I'm not ready to be talked about. So I kept it to myself for a very long time, and I think it took me like a month or something to even tell my mom. And the way I told her, it's funny because I accidentally told her on April Fool's Day, so you can see how that went. She thought it was a joke when it wasn't, and I just remember telling her, and I started crying. She didn't kick me out, which I thought she would, but she didn't. I just remember crying on the bed with her. And obviously there was options, like I'm all for that, like pro you, so she was like, you have options, no one has to know. But I don't know, something inside me, like at first I was thinking very hard on it, and I was like, I don't think I can do this, like I don't want to do this. But after talking to my boyfriend, we came to the conclusion that it was better, like to go on with the pregnancy. So that is what I did, and I kept it a secret for a very long time, actually, from my friends and everyone. And keep in mind, I was still in school at the time, so it was March. So from March until May, I kept it like a secret. I didn't tell anyone. I forgot to mention that I found out I was pregnant March. April was when I had my first appointment with the doctors. I think it was April 16th was when I found out I was having twins. And let me just tell you, that was the biggest surprise I ever thought, because I don't think anyone would have suspected that I would be someone who would have twins. Like, I knew twins ran in the family, but I did not know it was gonna hit me. Like, I didn't know I was gonna get them, but I wouldn't change anything about it. So yeah. And at the school, I didn't tell anyone. So for those last few months of school, no one knew. Like, I tried to keep it as, like, I tried my hardest to keep it in, because I didn't, like I said, I didn't want anyone to start talking about me. There's Sebastian. So where was I? So I kept it a secret for a very long time because I knew how it would play out. I knew things people would say. So it was very hard, let me tell you, because after you find out you're pregnant, like, before I did not have any symptoms. Like, I was fine besides the sleeping all day. But after I found out, it was like immediately, like, all the symptoms hit me. And it was weird because I was like having, like, my symptoms were like double normal. Before school, I would always get McDonald's because that's just, you know, what you do, get breakfast before school. And like, I had gym first period, so the first thing I would end up doing was like running to the bathrooms to like barf up what I had ate. And it was very hard because I tried not to be as, like, I tried to be not suspicious as I could, but I think I did it pretty well because no one found out. So I think I did a pretty well job with hiding it. But it was just awful trying to keep that in. And then also during lunch, trying to keep food down was awful. But luckily, during the class I had during lunch had a bathroom inside, so like that was fine. Like, I could easily like go in there. And so no one really suspected anything because no one ever said anything. So I was good for the rest of the school year. And the only person who knew was just my sister, my mom, my aunt, and my friend. So they were the only people who knew at this point. And so the school year's over. Like, I was glad because I didn't have to hide anything. Like, I was getting bigger, not noticeably bigger, but I was getting like bigger. Like, if you looked at me, you could tell I was gaining weight, but I don't think anyone knew it was because I was pregnant. I think they were just like, she's eating a lot. So that was through. Graduation happened. Like, I was ready to like scoot out of there because I was not about to have a big belly during school and have everyone stare at me. So after May, it was summer, obviously. So summer rolls around and I have beach trips, like pool trips, like, you know, summer things. So let me just tell you, you can go to a pool in a county where everyone knows everyone and you know everyone. It was very hard because at that point, it was like June. I wasn't big, but I was like noticeable. So if you looked at me, you could tell I was pregnant. So I was very nervous when we went to the pools because the pool that we go to is in the county where like everyone who I go to school with is in, and everyone goes to that pool. So I was very nervous when I would have to go because I had not posted anywhere or told anyone else that I was pregnant. So really, it was just the same people who knew, the same 4 people who knew at that point. So no one else knew. So if they would have saw me, they would have been like, what? So I would try to be as discreet as possible when I would go to the pools. Like, I would keep my shirt on until the very last second that I would have to get into the pool, or I would like cover my stomach with a shirt or a towel or something because I was just so self-conscious. Because I know being pregnant is like a great thing, but I don't know, I felt very weird just because no one knew and I hadn't posted anywhere. And it was like, I don't know, I'm very, like, I don't like people talking about me. So then July comes around and it is the annual time that we go to the beach. And I was like, this is gonna be fine because no one knows me at the beach. Like, I don't care. Like, no one knows me. July's going, I'm like, okay, it's getting close to time. I'm due in November. So I was like, I think it's time I need to post something. Like, I don't care at this point what anyone said. So, like, my mind shifted and I was like, I don't care what anyone says. Like, whatever. People are gonna say what they're gonna say. Like, they're gonna find out eventually. Like, look at me, I'm huge. And so I was like, I'm just gonna post it. So I posted on Instagram, and so everyone found out. Like, people obviously I know talked about it, like, behind my back. Like, I knew that was gonna happen. So I was like, okay, now that that's out, I can start posting pictures of my stomach, not being afraid to go out, because now everyone knows, like, I don't have to hide myself. As for birth goes, I had a C-section and they were a month early. They were born on October 25th and they were supposed to be born on November 27th, so the day before Thanksgiving. So they were born on October 25th. And let me just tell you, my pregnancy was a very hard pregnancy, I think, for me, because I had preeclampsia while I was pregnant. That caused me to have high blood pressure and a bunch of swelling, like extremely, like you swell when you're pregnant, but I swelled up. And from there on, it's just a big story. Like, so maybe later on video fully on when I went into the operating room, and from then on, because that is just a mess. So that's where I will leave this video.